So today we're going to take a look at Fnatic versus Mech, which I think is the best game of Valorant that has ever been played. Certainly in terms of the level of play, how skillful it was. I think that this was by far and away the best series of Valorant I can remember. I'm actually going to take a look at Fracture and not Split. I know a lot of you probably want me to do a video about Split. I could probably do like a 2-hour long video about Split because obviously the game lasted so long. I want to take a look at Fracture because I think that Fracture was actually the highest level of play in terms across the three maps. I mean, it was very high across all three, but I think that Fracture might be the highest skill level map that has ever been in Valorant. And I tweeted out about that after this map of Fracture, and I didn't even know what was in store later on because it got really wacky with Split. But let's take a look at Fracture because I thought this was an absolute crazy game, and there was lots of fun, cool moments, and lots of crazy things going on. And let's start with the pistol round here. And I think that this is a good example of some of the tactical elements that were going on in this game. So Fnatic are on the defensive side here, and one thing that they did very often was they trusted Durka to basically take control of Dish by himself. Now, of course, he is a very skilled player, and generally speaking, teams won't tend to go a lot of players towards Dish in general. Sometimes they do, and in those times Durka did get punished a bit, but on the general, normally only one player or 0 players will go there, and they were just trusting Durka that he can either deal with the one player, and if there's no one there, obviously he'll just get this space for free. And then they had this setup on A that was quite passive. You look at this Cypher utility, you might be a bit like, what is going on with this? But basically they were trusting Durka to take care of Dish, and then this very passive Cypher setup meant that if this Cypher utility wasn't broken, then that means that if it is an A hit, then Mech can only be in this area, which makes it very easy to retake because you know where they are, and this is a very small part of the map. So that's going to be, a lot easier for a retake in general. So that's what they were doing on A. And on B site, they're kind of relying on the fact that between a Viper, a Brimstone, and a Breach, you should have enough delay there, to stall out any hits and executes on the B site. So that was Fnatic's defensive plan. And let's take a look at that plan in action. And we are going to see an execute from Mech here. If you're a Sentinels fan, you're probably about to be pretty confused because there's going to be a lot of utility usage and it's going to be coordinated, and you're probably going to, I didn't realize teams could do that. But let's take a look at it because as you can see, it's already starting. We're going to get the Breach stun in here. We're about to get an Aftershock in this position as well. Obviously, we've got the smokes down in the normal positions. And then once they start to get towards the site, we're going to get a Stim Beacon in here. We're going to get a Paint Shell over in here as well. Shados is then also going to wall this off. And they're going to, go for this full B hit. And let's take a look at how that goes for them, because the reaction from Fnatic here is pretty good as well. So there they go. But what we're going to get is, and there's the Aftershock you can see, and the wall going up, and you can just see the Paint Shell there as well. So you get all of this utility. What Brave is going to do from the top of tower, though, is he's about to stun in this area, in this cross, and catch Chronicle with it, as you're about to see. And that is going to allow Boaster to get this kill. So you can just see how much utility is going on. Boaster also has this wall, which is going to, give them decay as they come in. And he's also got this orb, which is going to cut off these two players as well. So you can just see the utility from both sides being used very well here in general. And what this is going to mean is Shados is going to fall there. I think maybe his gun was just peeking out the smoke. And then Defo is going to get caught on this cross. So Redgar was able to make it, but Defo was not, as Mystic just spams him down, I think from behind the smoke, just spamming through there, and he catches a headshot. Bit unlucky for them. Then Nats is going to catch Brave here in tower because the two players are there. And then as we run this forward, unfortunately, it is not going to go well for Mech here as they are in a 4v2 already. And Durka is about to send in a Paint Shell, which is not going to help at all. And then he's going to just run in behind that, get that kill. And then Nats is going to do Nats things because he's Nats and get 2 kills. But ultimately, it's not going to be enough. But I thought that this was a good sort of example of some of the tactical play that was going into it and also the utility usage. And now let's come to round number 6, which I'm going to call the greatest retake of all time. This is a situation, Mech have the spike down, and it's the same thing that I mentioned before, where Durka's got this control of Dish, and none of the Cypher trips here have been broken or anything like that, so they know basically where all of the Mech players have to be. And this Cypher camp hasn't been used up until this point. I should also mention that as well. But this retake is going to be absolutely phenomenal, and you're about to see what I mean, because barely any bullets are gonna be fired. I'm pretty sure that they break the wall with some bullets, and then Durka is able to get 1 kill on Defo with his gun, and other than that, it's just going to be all utility, and it's absolutely insane. And first, let's just watch it through, just so you can see how beautiful it is, and then we'll kind of, you know, do the second part and kind of break it all down. So the retake is about to come in any second now. Here it goes, and away we go for Fnatic. And so they get that first kill there. Magnum's going to start defusing the spike, and he's not going to stop. They start getting kills with more utility. There's the one gun kill. Here comes another ult, and the spike is already defused. Absolutely insane, right? So let's take a look at how they actually managed to do that, because I think it gets even more impressive when you actually talk about it. So here we go. As I mentioned, they hadn't used this camera up until this point, so they have no idea that anyone's there. Boaster is going to come here first, you can see, and he's going to throw in his Viper Orb around in that spot. And that's going to be pretty crucial at one point as well. But as we continue to run this forward, what's then going to happen is Magnum is going to finally activate his camera when he's ready for this. So they're going to stim beacon these players here, which you see there with Brave. And then they're going to use the camera, and that's going to ping Redgar here on site. Okay, so that's the kind of go point. Is Magnum's camera pings Redgar, and then you're going to get the breach stun, as we can see from Brave here already, is going to go right at Redgar. And then obviously Durka, as we saw as well, is going to nade this and then ult Redgar as well. So that's going to get them the first kill. So the camera was basically just to get that first kill and find out who was on site there. So in it goes. There goes the ult from Durka, and now what you're gonna see is, well, Mech try and get, you know, the Brim Molly onto the spike. It slightly misses, but then you get this bit of utility as well. So you get the Cypher Cage, you get this Aftershock and a Viper Molly, so they can't see what's going on. You know, anyone close has to fall back, and that means that they have to fall back into the Viper Orb that I mentioned is here. Whilst that's going on, Mystic is going to send his Brim Molly into this area with the Viper Orb, which is going to get them another kill, which you'll see at the top as well. So as you can see, Defo and who else is it? Chronicle here get pushed back into the Molly and the Viper Orb, which kills Chronicle. And then now that Mystic got that kill, he now has his ult. And so Durka is able to get Defo there. But then with this ult, these last two players get completely cut off because they can't run past the ult, and so they just have to watch as the spike gets diffused. It was absolutely insane, the best retake that I've ever seen by far, and just goes to show like the level of preparation and planning. Like, if they don't go dish and if they haven't broken Magnum's utility, here's a massive master plan that we have for any retake that will guarantee us any round. And I just thought that this was absolutely insane in the way that Fnatic managed this. And now let's come to the very next round, and this one isn't necessarily so much utility, but just goes to show some of the crazy moments that happened as well. And we're going to watch Mystic here in a 1v2 and kind of talk about his decision making in this 1v2. So the first thing is, he knows where Defo is 100%, and I'm pretty sure at this point he also has a pretty good idea of where Chronicle is as well. So let's take a look at how he manages to do this. So first thing is, he tries to see if Defo will peek him. He could just see obviously the shoulder of Defo there peeking out. So he takes some shots at him, and the idea is that Defo then will, you know, run away. Now they know where his position is. So he then, you know, has a pretty good idea that Chronicle is down here. So he completely turns course here and, you know, just focuses on Chronicle after firing some shots at him. Defo does send some shots back at him, but because of the layout of the map, he's actually able to, you know, Defo can't quite see him here. You can see that the line of sight is just broken as he steps to this right hand side of this wall. So he's able to do that and get it into a 1v1 by perfectly isolating that fight, because you can't quite get a crossfire if this person is on over in this right hand side. But you'll notice he only has 4 bullets. He sprays 2 more, he only has 2 bullets. And this is where the absolute crazy thing comes in. And this is what I mean, that this game was also just full of wacky, insane moments. You tell me how that hit. I have absolutely no idea, but apparently it was a headshot through a wall. He only had 2 bullets in the clip. Absolutely insane. And if you're wondering, yes, he did have enough time to defuse the spike as well. I have no idea how that happened, but this game was just full of crazy moments. And now let's come to round 10, and this time Fnatic are going to change it up. They've got the Viper here on A. They're actually supporting the Raze with the Breach this time as well. And so you can see it's going to work out pretty well for them because there are a lot of players towards dish already. So what we're going to get is not aftershocks, breach stuns from both sides. So we get the stun here, we get the stun there, And Redgar clearly, wasn't expecting, because up until this point it had only been the raise there. Redgar, expecting it to only be the raise, but it's not. And the reaction to that kill as well is for Brave on Breach for Fnatic to send out his ult as well, expecting that if the Breach is there, there's probably going to be more people there as well. So in goes that ult, and Durka's getting ready to go. But Shados, this man here, has an absolute IQ of 1,000,000, because his reaction to that ult straight away in a split second, I have no idea, is to straight up wall this, because he knows that they're about to push them and deal a lot of damage to them. I have no idea how he managed to react that quick and make that decision in the moment, but it was very, very well done indeed. And now we end up in this weird situation. You can see Durka just like, what? You walled that in time? That's crazy. But now they have a res here on the Sage, and this is like the most likely res you're going to get, probably someone all the way down here. So what they're going to do is they're going to smoke it off for themselves. This is the mech smoke here. To try and get this res off. But Durka knows. These teams, they know what's going on. And so what happens here is Durka is going to go for that headshot. He knows it's about to come up, and he almost, well, he does hit a headshot, but I think it was, I guess, through the Sage wall, and it didn't get that kill. So anyway, we end up in a 4v4, and in this 4v4, what we're going to get is Mech here. They're just going to go fast towards the B site. And as I said, this game was full of crazy moments, because what's going to happen here is Defo, I think, is just going to be visible here as he blast packs, as you see there. How Magnum gets 2, just blind luck, I guess, but then a good bit of utility usage as well, because we're going to get the Cypher ult, and a Cypher ult goes very well with a Raze ult. And so as soon as Chronicle here gets pinged by the Cypher ult, Durka's going to take that chance to Raze ult him, because he knows exactly where he is, and then obviously he knows where the last person is as well, and they managed to win this round. Again, just crazy things happening in the game, but some really cool things going on overall. And now let's come to round 15, and yes, I have moved. It's because we're going to get a really informative little side clip over here that you need to see. So, first things first, the first thing we need to talk about is where Fnatic are. So they've grouped up towards Dish, and you can see that Mech don't really know what's going on, and they're playing a bit of a retake on A. Playing retake on A in this scenario, though, was the wrong idea, because Fnatic have a very good idea of what they want to do. So let's play it forward as they are about to break this Cypher chip and then explode onto site. And one thing we need to take note of as well is this Viper orb here is going to land on the top of the site. So in they go, Boombot, Flash, Raise satchels, in they go, they're into the site. And as we run this forward, it's not actually going to go great for them, because Magnum, I think, is going to get traded out 1-for-1. But if we quickly look at the map, you can see that 3 players are still towards Dish. So let's take a look at how this goes on then. So you see Magnum there. He's able to get 1, but then gets flashed and gets traded. And then Nats is about to beat Durka in this fight in a main. And so they end up in this situation. And then they're going to get Cypher ulted here as well. And so they know all 3 of these players are in Dish. But here's what you really need to keep your eye on. This Viper orb is up. Viper Molly is on it, and then Brim Molly is on it, and they can't defuse the spike, and you'll notice that this is really starting to tick right now. And then we're also going to get Breach Aftershock coming in as well, and that's why they were all towards that Dish side. Brilliant from Fnatic in general. And finally, let's come to round number 18, because this one is going to be a crazy round as well. As you can kind of see here, we've got Fnatic going towards a main. But what we've got from the side of Mech is this very aggressive B push here. And so they're going to send out the Breach here. We've got a smoke here from the Brim as well. And the idea is to get Raze onto this box and fire at any players over there and, hopefully get a kill. And that's exactly what's going to happen. So as we watch this through, there goes Defo. Onto the box he goes. There's this smoke that cuts off anyone from here, stops someone like Magnum, killing him. So they get the first kill, and it starts out well for them. So Fnatic's reaction to that is to go fast towards A, of course, because they know there's going to be less people there. So what they do is they don't know where Nats is, but they have a pretty good idea, and you can ascertain that by the utility that they use, because as he dies to the Raze ult, you can see that actually they sent in an Aftershock and a Viper Molly here as well. So they had a pretty good idea of where Nats might be, and so they were able to get that kill. And then as we play this forward, this is going to be pretty insane what happens next. Durka's going to get caught by Redgar here. And if we take a look at the map very quickly, you'll see that basically all of the mech players are here. The Fnatic players are here, but we get Boaster planting the spike here. This is a very important thing, is spike plant location. It's something that I've talked about before, and how it annoys me that even pros plant in awful spots a lot of the time, and it costs them rounds. But Boaster isn't one of those pros because he obviously has a big brain. So he plants it here and he knows he's about to Viper ult. This is a very good plant spot because it means that he can be high or he can be low, and still, if they tap the spike, he can just spam it from pretty much any location within his ult, which is really, really nice. So that's the idea. Whilst this is going on, we've then also got this breach ult here because what has happened is Defo has popped his ult. So in reaction to Defo ulting with the raise, we send out this breach ult as well, which is obviously going to slow down the push for one, and also stop Defo a lot. And so you can just see that they're just hiding, and eventually Magnum comes out whilst he's looking the wrong way. But Brave is going to, whiff a bit there, and Shados is able to get two. And all of a sudden, and I'm sure some of you might have seen this clip, we end up in a 1v4 because Shados is able to get a res for Boasted. So let's take a look at how he's able to do this. One thing we should note is that Shados is basically on 1 HP already because he is going to be the last to die. But what's going to happen is Boaster is taking a look around in his ult, and I think he maybe heard a step there. I don't really know. But then he drops down, and like all of the other mech players were running in at this point. They were all charging in, as you can kind of see that they've closed the ground. So whilst they were running and, that sound was playing for them, that's when he decides to drop. So I don't think that they heard him drop there, which is a really good thing, right? And the timing of that is important. And if you are a Viper, by the way, always move around. So Boast is able to get one, and then the muzzle flash, it's like something out of a film. The muzzle flash is able to see that one, and then, as I said, Shados is already on 1 HP, so Boast is able to pull out his pistol, find that last kill, and his reaction really says it all, because that was absolutely insane. But again, it kind of goes to show the plant location was important because it allowed him that ability to drop down and feel safe about, where he was able to still see the spike from. And always move around in your Viper ult, always be in some different locations so that you can't get caught when you're against multiple people. And Boast is able to win the 1v4. And this was just, again, another crazy moment that happened in this game. And so that's my analysis of this map, which I think was the highest level play of any map ever in Valorant's history. And if you haven't watched it all, you should just watch this series. It is a long watch, spoiler alert for Split, but it is definitely worth it because it was just an absolute insane game overall, and it's well worth the watch because I think it's definitely the highest level Valorant has ever been played at between two teams.